Today, I'm fixing my future because someone has to. If you start my savings and investment plans with Old Mutual today, then my future will be smoother than Dad's head. So you get advice from the people at Old Mutual, and I'll get those gold stars to make you proud. Any questions?
Do future doctors pack their own lunches?
Start their journey by speaking to an Old Mutual financial advisor today. Invest in their future. Do great things every day.
Hello and welcome to iDiskiTV. My name is Nkululeko. I'm with Lindo Pep and I'm also with Tshegofatso. Thank you very much for joining us. Please make sure you subscribe, you like, and you comment on our content. Thank you for being here. Tomorrow we'll be here as well. The Betway Premiership is continuing. Siwelele against Orlando Pirates. And then Chiefs will play on Wednesday. Sundowns will play on Wednesday. We'll be doing that. We'll take a break on Thursday. And then Friday we'll come back with predictions. And then Saturday we do matches. So it's bumper to bumper. It doesn't end. Now, interestingly, we are at game number 7 in the Betway Premiership. And 2 players are emerging as top goal scorers. It's Ikram Reyners and Bradley Grobler. They've both scored 5 goals in 7 games. Ikram Reyners is already a Bafana international, and Lyle Forster is already a Bafana international. So we'll get them out of the way in our discussion. What we want to discuss is an interesting subject matter. Bradley Grobler is coming back into form after injuries. Tshegofatso Mabasa is doing well as well. Orlando Pirates, he should have had a hat-trick this past weekend. I'm going to ask Lindo Pep, our brother, whether or not, if you are Hugo Bros, you already have Lyle Forster, you have Ikram Reyners, so we're not discussing whether those guys must continue. They will continue whether we like it or not because they're doing well. Now, do you add Tshegofatso Mabasa or Bradley Grobler or both? Normally, you'll have 3 strikers at a major tournament, so which one of these must take the 3rd slot? Or is there any other player that we're not even calculating or counting in this discussion? Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Nkewu, let me greet some of viewers as
Yes, so
as
you're
usual.
laughing. It's like,
Yeah,
are we being mischievous by asking the question?
No, it's actually your initial intro that actually made me laugh. But anyway, Mr. Nkewu, you're speaking about 2 strikers, in my opinion, who are similar in terms of profile. You're talking left-right in terms of foot, foxes in the box, aerial threat. I think we saw the goal that Grobler scored
Now,
over the
do you
weekend.
agree with me? Sorry to cut
Yeah,
you. We'll talk about what they've done so far. Do you agree with me, number 1? The premise is Lyle Forster and Ikram Reyners are the 2 number 9s for South Africa.
Yes.
Now, what we're discussing is the 3rd one, because normally you would take a 3rd striker.
Yeah.
And we're saying, or we're asking, if you are the national team coach, do you take Grobler or Mabasa or both?
Yeah. So what you do is, I don't want to analyze Foster because we've analyzed him. Almost complete player in terms of being a striker, aerial threat, left, right finish, can play on the ball, can run behind the channel. Ikram offers a different quality, which is running behind the defense, scores left, right, headers as well. But now you're talking about a different profile of a striker now. You're talking about a box striker, a striker that plays the space sometimes, a striker that normally his biggest job or his biggest responsibility is to lock the 2 centre backs. Those strikers in international football, Mr. Nkewu, they are normally brought into the second half because international football is very close in terms of result or score line. So it might find a lot of 1-1, 2-1s. That's where you need a Grobler, you need a Mabasa, a striker that stays in the box, a fox in the box, a striker that doesn't need a lot of opportunities to score. You don't need a striker that runs a channel. The one striker, Grobler, is a striker that I've always been crying for in the national team. Maybe as a second option or even as a 3rd option. Why? You are guaranteed goals. In this country, we hardly have players that can score on both feet. You hardly have players that are aerial threat, a fox in the box. I think the previous goal he scored over the weekend, Ngama last minute, it tells you everything about Bradley Grobler. Number 1, it tells you about the confidence that he has in his abilities. Number 2, it tells you that he lives for goals. He's one of those strikers, Mr. Nkewu, that if he doesn't score, he's unhappy, even when the team has won. I think that's the character that Mabasa needs to develop, where even if the team is playing well, if he doesn't score, he's a little bit angry with himself.
Now, the interesting thing is that the both of them are not normally associated with the build-up of a team.
Yeah.
So Mabasa did really well this past weekend. Of course, Dioli is a Lesotho team, although, of course, they are one of the big teams there, right? And we expected, he should have had a hat-trick. And we are always advocating for Mabasa because he's a goal-scoring striker. And we want to take away this thing of anything other than you scoring is important, because I think even as I'm asking you these questions, I realize on the back of my mind that if Hugo Bros wants to defend against Nigeria, he might not even look at these two and look at an evidence Mahopa. Now, I'm not dreaming up the scenario. He might even be thinking about it that way. But these two strikers, Grobler, maybe going back to my initial point, is they're not normally associated with the build-up. They're very similar. Now, perhaps it rules out the possibility of you taking both of them, because most of the time, everyone is cooking, and by the time they dish for those two strikers. That means they don't press. That means they don't do anything else other than to be in a position to score.
They are in the build-up, to be honest with you, but they add a completely different build-up. So they give you a variation in terms of how you build out from the back. For example, one long ball, we call it a deep pass in modern football. One deep ball where the biggest responsibility of Grobler is to hold up the ball and bring the two wingers into play, whether with a negative pass or a run behind the defense. So they offer you different qualities. Sometimes you get it into midfield. You've got certain different kinds of midfielders. You've got Abu Tebza who've got a good range of pass. You've got Umbogazi at the back who've got a good range of pass. For me, building out from the back doesn't only mean short pass. Building out from the back is sometimes also breaking lines, making sure that you attract the opponent into your half, finding that pass. You're talking about Mabasa, you're talking about Grobler. We spoke about Mabasa over the weekend. We said to Mabasa, because we want to use you as an extended extra pass, hold up player must be good. With your back towards goal, your first touch must be good. Your one touch pass must be good. How you link the two wingers, how you bring in the two wingers and the number 10 is very important. And for me, it's not a bad tactic. Sometimes we've made strikers to be which won't look good on the ball. Sometimes strikers are very basic people. They need to understand basics. Number one, when you describe Grobler, you're speaking about a player that understands basics. So that's already a positive. Number two, when you're speaking about Mabasa, you're speaking about a player that understands basic. But now, what element are we bringing into their game? Do we bring the best out of them? Number one, you need crossers. You need deep crossers when you have a Grobler, when you have a Mabasa. So when you play with fullbacks, you are playing with fullbacks. So it gives even him a variation, Hugo Prost, to say, I use a different kinds of fullback. So Apolis is a fullback, is a winger that likes crossing from deep. So in the second half, if plan A doesn't work, I've got Mabasa, who can bring out the best in Apolis, who can bring out the best in Urile. It's not a fluke that Mabasa always scores when he plays with Urile Mfokeng. It's because he understands how to pick a space. One more thing that Mabasa has a quality that maybe other strikers don't have is that he's a left footer. And if you understand the landscape and history of football, is that centre backs are both right-footed. So if a striker runs onto the channel of the left-hand side of the defense, most of the time they cause problems. The most dangerous run for a striker is to shift from the right-hand side with your left foot. That's why Ubonu Haaland most of the time scores a lot of goals coming from that angle, where he would turn his body, and finishes. Last week, Mabasa receives with his weaker foot. I would like him to with his strong foot. I would like him to receive with his weaker foot, scores those goals. Grobler doesn't need those. Grobler is good with his back towards goal. He understands the Tipala movie. He can turn and finish. He can swing.
That finish the second goal that he got against Chiefs,
my God.
We were so impressed with it because it speaks to exactly what you're saying, that the target doesn't move.
It doesn't.
Him. And we were so amazed that Ramada is trying to create something out of nothing, and it kind of loses the ball, but eventually it lands on Grobler.
Yeah.
Without wasting any time, Grobler turns and shoots, but the way he turns as well is not turning. But I think the most important thing, we're now talking about the qualities. Let's go to the substance of this. If you are Hugo Bros and you have to choose one of them, who are you taking to the African Cup of Nations? Grobler, 5 goals after 7 matches in the Betway Premiership, and he's lifted his team to be number 1 in the Betway Premiership. And they're number 1 because they've not played games ahead of everyone. They've played less games, but they're still number 1 over Sundowns, who's played a game more. So there's no favors. Sekhukhune are number 1, and he is the leader of that pack, Grobler. On the other hand, Mabasa, there's a battle between him, Radiopane, and Mahopa at Orlando Pirates. And they don't trust Mabasa. He always have to be auditioning every week. If he didn't score against Dioli, he was not going to play in the second leg as well. So then you, as Lindo Pep, have to choose the third striker. Now, assumption to the people at home is that we assume that Foster will play.
Yeah.
We assume, on merit, of course, we assume that Ikram Dennis will play on merit. Those are number 1s and number 2s at number 9. Only one of them can play. Now we are talking about choosing the third striker. What are you doing as Hugo Bros?
Number 1, Grobler is 37. That's something to consider. He scores goals. Yes,
Might be his last tournament.
But also, you have to be honest. For me, this is how I look at this. Will Lindo take Grobler any time of the day? For sure. I would take Grobler. But this is what we need to look at as a nation and as Hugo Bros, because he's a dreamer, Hugo Bros. For me, he takes Mabasa, and this is the reason. Mabasa is a really good player. And I want to land with this point. But there's things that I need him personally to improve in his game. Left, right, header, dangerous scorer, scores 15 goal plus guaranteed every season. But the one thing that he doesn't have that Grobler has is I don't like a striker that wants sorry. Sometimes I find his game to be too timid. And I need a certain level of arrogance from Mabasa to say, I am number one. I'm number one. And I need him to walk like he's a number one. I don't like a striker. You know, Mr. Nkewu, football players, it's just like Lindo Pep about celebrities and stardom. For me, I don't like players who are apologetic and talented. Don't be apologetic with how you score.
I don't think that's his personality. I think I've interviewed him. I get what you're saying, that he doesn't exude the arrogance when you're looking at him from TV or even at the stadium. But I've spoken to him, and he's very well spoken. And
very well spoken.
The reason why he scored so many goals and is about to be the highest ever goal scorer at Orlando Pirates is because of that he has self-belief. Maybe it does not express itself physically, that he doesn't walk around like
But
this.
I think you need it a little bit, more especially in big games. There's a very thin line. A very thin line. More especially, that's the reason why they don't use him in big games.
But let's go back to the point
for
of
sure.
who are you picking?
I'm picking Tshegofatso Mabasa. And on basis of age, scoring goals, give him the confidence. For me, he's one striker, and there's a reason why Rulani wanted to select him. He's a fox in the box. Header left, right, which is very important. I keep on mentioning left, right, because people think in Yakulumanje, that is very important for a finisher to finish with both feet. Header, a fox in the box. For me, you take him, you give him an opportunity to be a part of the national team.
The difficulty about what you're saying, I get what you're saying, and I think anyone who plays for Pirates who's good normally plays for Bafana anyways. We saw Abosilepe, anyone. It's an opportunity to play for Bafana. So it's an easier door. So whatever happens, I think if Mabasa scores 10 goals by December, he will get there. And I think it will be on merit. But I think there's also the factor of he plays for Orlando Pirates. But I think maybe as we wrap up, because we have to move on to the next one, I would give Grobler the AFCON experience, knowing that I have two main strikers, and I would say to him, you are here to support these two strikers. If we play the third game in a group and we've already won the two matches, we might give you the opportunity, 30 minutes to play. You are here to help out the other guys. You are about to be the highest ever goal scorer in the history of the PSL. I think he's 5 goals away from Ushalulile. You are about to be the highest ever goal scorer. Now I'm looking at the bigger vision. I'm giving you the AFCON. I might not give you the World Cup, for example. I'm giving you the AFCON to go and play there, and you might only just play 30 minutes, but when the time comes, because you're not doing him any favor. When the time comes, if we need you, we're going to need you. But I think that looking at him at 37, about to be the highest ever goal scorer in the history of the Premier Soccer League, his father used to play for Swallows, Les Grobler, history there, and I'm thinking that you might reward him for that. Not because you're doing him a favor, it's because he's currently the top goal scorer with Ikram Reynas. But what you need to help him understand is that you are not going to play. Lyle Foster is going to play on merit. He plays for Burnley, he scored against Man United, scored against this one and this one. Ikram Reynas as well, a very great finisher. He's earned his place as number 2 there. And then you'll be the third striker. So that's what I would choose. Not to say that I like Mabasa as well. You know I like Mabasa.
I know how you feel.
But I would give Grobler just on that basis.
I think, me personally, and I've said it here in studio, I would have taken Grobler to Orlando Pirates. And for me, I believe that he would be very important for Mabasa and Radio Pane to help him in training. At the national team, we don't have that time. And for me, Lyle Foster is a completely different model of striker. Reynas is a completely different model of striker. Even if you do add him there, I would put in Mabasa because for me, he has a big season ahead of him at Orlando Pirates. I believe that moving forward from this season, from this previous game that just played, he's their number 1 striker. And if they don't make him...
What needs to be said to Pirates, sorry to cut you, what needs to be said to Pirates is that, can you guys please not make this a competitive...
No, they shouldn't.
Don't make it a competition. Choose one number 9, give him 5-10 matches, and then from there you will see. If you choose Mabasa, for example, in 10 matches, I guarantee you'll score 7 goals.
Mr. Nkewu, this season they are playing against a low block. They need a fox in the box. They need a box striker. They don't need a striker that peels off Odlala as a fullback or number 10. And for me, I believe that for some reason, I'm very critical of Mabasa because of what I told you already, that I find him to be a little bit timid in terms of the arrogance that I think I genuinely need him to have. But from a finishing perspective, from a player perspective, I like the character of the player. I like how he handles himself. Hardly ever complains, even if he doesn't play. He always puts in a shift. Another thing that I would advise Mabasa to do, I don't know. I know he's a professional, but he looks like his conditioning is always not 100%. And I don't know why when I watch him. when I watch him, he looks really slow, in my opinion. Sometimes I just feel like he lacks that little bit of sharpness, that quick burst, you know?
Sure, because Umakhopa, where he's different,
Yeah.
is that if you give him Chiefs, Umakhopa, this is not. There's nothing that's all negative about someone.
Yeah.
Umakhopa does not finish. You shouldn't be playing him at the highest level with that, especially with that club, historic club. But where he makes a difference,
Yeah.
and I will always stand up for him with this, is that if you give him Chiefs and Sundowns or a cup final, he will be so sharp. Speaking to the sharpness that you're talking about,
Yeah, he's very
he will
sharp.
be run faster than everyone. The problem is that he's running in the wrong areas, unfortunately. But what he will do is harass the defenders. If the other team wants to build up from the back, he will harass them, force them into making mistakes. He did that with Sundowns recently in the MTN.
Sharpness, Mr. Nkewu, because when you watch Mabasa, sometimes you get this feel that this guy can be a top striker. It's not a fluke that all the big coaches believe in him. Rulani wanted to sign him for Sundowns. Steve Kompela fetched him. Coach Pizzo believes in him. All the big coaches, Roger believed in him. And there's something there. When you listen to Umandla Ncikazi speak about Umakhopa, you have this feel that this guy has got the ability. He almost is like a Benny McCarthy. Maybe not in terms of quality and profile of a player, but in terms of ability-wise. When you watch him, you've got this feeling that he's going to score. But what we need in big games sometimes is a little bit of energy, a little bit of sharpness, a little bit of show up even when the game is 1-1. Can you just appear and do feeling a header or whatever the case may be? So that's the difference between him and Grobler.
Right,
But
we've eaten into the other segment's time. We're wrapping up. We'll only spend 5 minutes on this. We've wrapped up the first segment of the show. Normally, we want to talk about two things 10 minutes apart, but we've literally, because it's a lovely discussion anyways that we're having. Now, this past weekend, two South African teams played in CAF competitions. Orlando Pirates won against Dioli 3-0. Well done to Orlando Pirates. We think that they will win again this coming weekend. So it's not even worth talking much about because it's a straightforward win against a team from Lesotho. You should beat them. And then we move on to the next game. Well done to Orlando Pirates. CAF Champions League. Next preliminary round, you are there almost. Kaizer Chiefs went to Angola and they lost to Kabuscorp, which is a team that plays in Angola, of course, and also in the Confederations Cup. Kaizer Chiefs without a coach, Kaizer Chiefs with Cedric Kaze and Khalil Ben Youssef on the bench. We'll only spend 5 minutes on this, and I want to only find out from you whether you think Chiefs are still in this game.
They are still in this game. They are playing at home. You always give a home team an advantage. But for me, nothing has really changed from Kaizer Chiefs, more especially with the same technical team. I just feel like it's a nubby team, in my opinion, even from a selection perspective, from the subs that they are making, from a personnel perspective. For me, Kaizer Chiefs do have the players. This is the season where when I analyze their squad, when I audit their squad, I think to myself, they've got 41 players. But in those 41 players, there are 20 or 18 really, really good players. Despite the fact that they are playing against two, they can get a result. You're talking about Umabuye will help them, in my opinion. You're talking about them missing, in my opinion, their best defender, Rashin Tutli, even though I need him to improve a lot of things. Centre backs normally improve in age. The older they get, the more they improve. Goalkeeper seems like he's improved to Peterson. He looks really, really good. As a third choice goalkeeper as well, if that was a conversation, I believe that he's in the conversation. You're talking about the two fullbacks that have done really, really well, in my opinion. Umonyane gets an injury. So when you profile that squad, they've got to Castin Sereno, they've got to Umfundo Vilagazi, they've got to Shabalala. I believe that the North Africans don't understand the kind of players and the profile of players that we produce in this country. And I think it took them longer to understand. The fact that they are playing him as a number 10, for me, is a sign that they believe that when you are good on the ball, you need to be in midfield. In Kumbuza, more coach are lesser players, Guma soccer schools, Mr. Nkewu. So when you do that, go academy football, is that the ones who are really good on the ball, you play with them in midfield because they can control the game. So for me, I believe that there's certain players that they need to shift around. And the South African coach can help them identify that in South African football, it's all about speed. And speed is an advantage. And Umdu's got speed, he's got the skill, he's got the technique as well. He can finish. And then you've got one of the best passers in the club. You've got the best creative player at the club. You've got Castin Sereno, you've got Umfundo Vilagazi. For me, you always start with Castin Sereno. Castin Sereno will take that experience, feed it to Umfundo Vilagazi in the second half so that the boy can contribute.
There was a lot of talk about Umfundo, which he must play a little bit more. I think a lot of people are starting to say that, which he must play a little bit more. Now, my question to you would be, where is he playing? What is his best position?
For me, his best position is a number 10.
And do you agree that he must play more?
Mr. Nkewu, I love
would you start a match with
him? I need to answer this the right way because I love the boy. But I need to start here. An incredible football player, one of the most talented football players we have in the country. But this is it. The best songwriters in the world are the ones that have gone through a lot. What is happening with me, part of me was It's a growth of a football player. He has to grow through that to grow as a man. And the version of Urile Mfukeng that we're going to see is better because of what he gone through this year. The best songwriters are the ones that write the best songs. And for me, Umfundo, the fact that he's learning, he's not sometimes playing. And when you listen to him speak, he's got the right attitude. He's not really frustrated. Yes, we are the ones that are speaking for him. But for me, I believe that this is good for his development. Phil Foden did it. Pep Guardiola did it on Phil Foden as well, where he was not really rushing him. He built him. What Umfundo has is unbelievable ability. He's got the pass that can find a striker. He's got the pass that can find. He can score from anywhere.
I think the question, I wouldn't disagree with you. In fact, me and you, we like that boy.
Yeah.
The one part to me, when I mentioned Instagram player, for example, would be he's so big, it doesn't correspond with what is done.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying Instagram player, in that he's so famous.
Yeah.
And if you look at his trajectory as well, what happened, there was a social media buzz, Chiefs signs him, DDC, he plays for Chiefs. And it's like, okay. But then at some point, we have to see this thing.
Yeah.
Because me and you, we like that kid.
For sure.
But I won't go out of my way to... The way I talk about Tomo Fogeng, for example, I saw it immediately. I was like, okay, I'm always going to praise this kid because he's going to be the face of South African football. This one has it, but I can't back up where we have seen it. So I can't say, other than the fact that if you had the privilege of seeing him in the DGC, because at the professional level so far, we've not seen him. And this is not criticism. I like that kid. But I would want the substance to the conversation. This week there was an assist. This week there was a goal. This week there was impact. Because he does have the ability.
Mr. Nkewu, we always need to emphasize this. The development career will always be different to the professional career.
Sure.
And this is what we need Umfundo to improve. And there's so many players in this country. Some of our players that are scouted that are playing HDL are not properly coached. Some coaches don't have the resources. Bafana Balanda Ekasi from coaches that are trying their best to get the best out of these boys.
Some of them, they're playing to win.
Some of them are playing to win. Some of these boys are not properly conditioned.
Yeah.
Abumfundo, more especially when you play that position. I said last week here, the best players that play that position in this country are foreign people. Even the best players we've produced in this country, Bashail, later in their years, they started playing more as a number 10 because they started understanding because of who they trained with, who was coaching them. And this phase where Abumfundo is very important. That's why when I was speaking to him personally, I said, you need to take your chances as a winger because you can play the winger that cheats.
Yeah, we're going back to the best position. And also we'll have to wrap up the part. Is Chiefs still in this game? Can they win by 2 goals or more? Or are we going to penalties?
For sure.
Stuff like that. But his best position, you're saying, is number 10.
He's a number 10.
Now, it goes back to the argument you were making, though, this past weekend. Some of the number 10 is so complicated for our players that they end up playing wide.
Yeah.
Can you see him playing wide, Umfundo?
I see him playing wide. But they need to use him completely different. Use him like Urile Mfukeng. He needs to use him like Ribeiro. He needs to play the winger that comes inside, an inverted winger, where you're giving him opportunities to be on the outside, on the inside. So coaching Ganabi requires wingers to play wide and bring in a cross. So that will never get the best out of Mfundo because he's too far away from goal. Number two, he doesn't have the physical strength to play and dribble his fullbacks all the time. 10 out of 10, yes, he's a dribbling wizard, but he might not get it right. But if you find him in little pockets where he's got an eye for a pass, he's a line breaker, he's very skillful, he's technical, he likes taking shots outside the box, he's got the qualities. But for me, the best number 10s are complete players. For me, no one will convince me otherwise. And this is the topic I have with all of these boys. Whether Rilem Fukeng, whether Mfundo Vilagazi, whether Tembazwane Mshishi, for me, you have to be a complete player. Because for me, if you're a number 10 of a big club, you need to be a player that's considered for Footballer of the Year.
Kabuscorp, 1-0 up, Kaizer Chiefs, can they overturn that?
Going to be a difficult match. I was actually expecting communication with regards to coaching. But I do see Kaizer Chiefs scoring at least 2 goals.
It would be nice for them to continue that conversation because I think even when you look at Uzita, they hit him with an elbow.
Yeah.
It's character building. The stadium, the altitude, maybe the thinness of the oxygen as you breathe. Like there's so many different things about traveling to Africa that you get exposure to learning. And that's why as much as the years have gone on. So in 2016, Sundowns wins the CAF Champions League. In 2016. In 2017, Bidvest Verds were the last team to win the league in South Africa. So in 2017, Verds win the league. In 2018, Sundowns win the league 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 8 times in a row. Now, you cannot take away those 2 experiences of you win the Champions League, every year you play in the Champions League, and it kind of lifts you. It's like the gap opens up between you and local competition. And I think that Chiefs, I hope that they do win, because I would, even the Pirates, I was so excited when they got to the semi-final, because what it does is it then lifts them
It made
a
them a
little
better
bit
team.
closer. Yeah, it makes them a better team, closer to Sundowns. Obviously not at the same level, but the exposure in that competition will help you. It's not great competition, but there's other aspects that will help you grow as a man.
You know what I picked up over the weekend? I was listening to a clip by Orlando Pirates, Sipo Chine, saying, we made it to the semi-final of the Champions League. We are a Champions League team.
Yeah.
And I think that's the worst. That's the language that Kaizer Chiefs needs to speak.
Yeah.
We are a Champions League team.
We're an African
and
team.
we are an African team. And for me, Kaizer Chiefs is big only in South Africa. They are not big in Africa as yet.
They're
and that
big
should
in
be the
SADC.
ambition.
They're big in the SADC
Yeah,
region, but I get the point that
I get-
Esperance, when they're playing Chiefs, they're not going to be scared.
No.
But when they play Sundowns, they're like, oh, Sundowns.
And
or when
that's
they play
why-
Pirates, they're going to say the same thing.
And that's why over the weekend I said they are playing against will. They are playing against will. Because for me, in African football, those guys are not really focused on... Yes, of course, teams are focused on tactics. You need a certain level of tactics. But I believe that it's about will. It's more about them wanting it more. Selling themselves. Most of them have ambitions
Getting
to play...
out of poverty.
Getting out of poverty, feeding their... So they're playing against that will. And for me, the Kaizer Chiefs boys, in person, because we've spoken about the timidness that sometimes the team can show, more especially in games of consequence. For me, that's the lesson that
So
they're
you
learning.
still think that they're in the game? We're out of time.
For sure.
They're
still
in the game. There
yeah.
you go. As Kaizer Chiefs against Kabuscorp, they're playing on the weekend. Of course, tomorrow it's Siwelele against Orlando Pirates, and then Sundowns are playing on Wednesday. Chiefs are playing on Wednesday as well. By the time we get to African continental football on the weekend, these teams would have played midweek as well. For Pirates, very fortunate, because they've done the job in the first leg and they're playing much lesser competition. For Chiefs, it's quite very difficult, because on midweek they have to play in a match of consequence, because it will lift them up in the Betway Premiership, will take them down, and they then have to have a must-win game against a team from Angola. We hope you enjoyed this conversation. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and comment on our content. Thank you very much for watching us. For breaking news, go to iDiskiTimes.co.za.